an unrestricted free agent last month after spending the first 5 seasons of his career in San Francisco. Reid tweeted at the beginning of the league year last month that he was not receiving interest from teams because of his decision to protest during the national anthem. The safety market, however, has been slow to develop relatively. Here are a few of the notable safeties left unsigned. Former St. Kenny Vaccaro on the market, as is ex-Panther and Charger Trey Boston. Mike Mitchell, Ron Parker, and Ladarius Webb all experienced safeties from good teams over the last few years. So, Louis, I'll just ask you this. Why does Reid not have a job yet?
Well, I'm sure there's a component to it that we all know, that there's going to be people who are going to shy away from him because of his stance and his beliefs and what he feels he's doing, which is, quite honestly, we debated till the end of time.
Correct.
But there's also a component of it here about his game and about a lot of guys on that list whose game right now is one where you're just not going to be one of the guys who are going to get signed early on in free agency because your game has holes in it. It just does. If you look at some of the names on that list, look, Kenny Vaccaro is a guy I know very well. Tyvon Branch, Trey Boston. These are all guys who in a league that has increasingly become, I don't want to just say a passing league, but a league that really emphasizes coverage, and not just man-to-man coverage, but spatial awareness in the back end, ability to make plays on footballs and do it consistently. The league just does not value these guys the way that maybe they value themselves, and therefore they're sitting. And with the draft coming up now, they're going to sit even longer, and they're going to wind up playing for very small salaries, very short contracts, and maybe they'll have a chance to prove themselves. But all these players, they have value, but just not the kind of value that warrants being signed early on in free agency.
Well, the market says so.
That's right.
At least right now.
I would say let's get to the real, because if this wasn't even a team led by Marvin Lewis, I'm not even sure that Eric Reid would have a visit right now. We all know that Eric Reid is probably the player outside of Colin Kaepernick that is most synonymous with that movement in terms of protesting for widespread injustice, socially and in our society. Okay, so, and that it is all out there, and there are owners who have been very vocal about their feelings about that as well. So if it had not been for him or maybe a team that has a African-American general manager, what have you, we haven't even seen that yet. And the list that we just made of all of the players who are still out there at that position, let me tell you who has already been signed at that position. Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus Gilchrist, Raphael Bush, Terrence Brooks, Morgan Burnett, Denoris Searcy, all those players have been signed at that position. And you were talking about those players being, there because maybe their play isn't up to snuff as well. And it's debatable as to whether you think Eric Reid, some people think he's a top 5 safety that was available for the, position to get into the free market right now and onto a team. So I don't think that it is, not understandable as to why he's not signed yet. And as the time progresses, it will definitely be illuminated that much more.
Look again. We know it exists. Mm-hmm. We know what's going on. I'm just saying this. Look, I'm just going to keep this strictly about football because we know the other component of it, and there's really no end game as far as that discussion is concerned. I'm saying from a strictly football perspective. Look, those guys, I've watched all those guys. I know. Look, Mike Mitchell, all of them. Tyvon Branch, I've scouted them all. And in the safety market, look, there's a specific skill set that people are looking for right now that some of those guys are lacking. They just are. And therefore, their value is going to be suppressed until now, especially with the draft coming up. That's where everybody's focus is right now. No one's really looking at veterans to the point where they were early on in free agency because their emphasis is about the draft, and they're just going to have to sit and wait.
Well, exactly. And then we see after the draft, to both of your points, that's when sort of the,
third wave comes.
The third wave, the truth comes out, so to speak.
Yeah.
Richie Incognito may be close to saying he is done with football. He told the Buffalo News, well, I get, in actuality, this is relatively clear. I'm done. That's it. It's been a long career. Went to the doctor. My liver and kidneys are shutting down. The stress is killing me. It's just about doing what's right. I just want to be in the Hall of Fame. We should say also that he fired his agents last week. So, another move perhaps toward retirement. It appears he's had enough. But that notwithstanding, how big a deal is this for the Buffalo Bills, Louis?
Well, look, he's still a solid player, a guy who has been periodically a dominant run-blocking force in the NFL, a guy who plays the game on the edge, who plays with a very physical style. He is solid in the pass game, and a guy who really Look, every team, it's interesting because guard play in the NFL, I think, has become more and more important as time has gone on because every team is looking to be strong down the middle, and Richie was one of the strongest, and he's played some of his best ball lately. So it's a big deal to Buffalo because Buffalo traditionally has been a team that has been a ground-and-pound football team and opportunistic in the passing game. So you need players like this, and he will be someone that they will need to replace, especially in terms of his toughness and what he brings to the run game.
Well, also, though, changing and evolving is the way players see their life after football, and we have seen a number of players, it's been a trend over the last few years, to retire when they can still contribute, but making the decision that it's better for them physically.
Yeah, and he sets a tone in the locker room, on that line, with his personality, with his presence, so it's not just that as well. And we all know that our offensive line moves as a unit. So you move one piece, you kind of change around the cohesion. You just brought in a new quarterback in there. You got rid of Tyrod Taylor. You bring in A.J. McCarron. You still need the running game to go with McCoy. So even though it is just one piece and the guard is not the left tackle, protecting your blind side or what have you, I see him as a very integral piece for this Buffalo Bills team. So I think he's a player that's going to definitely be missed.
Will be missed. In a Q&A cover story this week in ESPN, the magazine, highly scrutinized UCLA quarterback Josh Rosen was asked, what's the most jerkish thing you've done? That's not my question, but somebody did ask him. Find out what he had to say, what his answer was. I wasn't sure jerkish.
Retirement Update is brought to you by Voya Financial, helping you to and through retirement.